What's good, man? It's your boy Juicy J, man. Shout out to Virtual Homework Podcast.
Welcome back to another episode of the Virtual Homework Podcast for all your virtual homework podcast needs. I am Sam.
And I am Dana. Go fuck yourself.
Jesus, we're getting
I'm
really,
kidding.
really,
Sorry,
really
I have low blood
upsetting
sugar
right now. He has low blood sugar. He's not even diabetic. He needs candy. That's what he's trying to say.
I just drink a Red Bull. I'm ready to go. This game has got me fucking amped.
Well, if you have low blood sugar, you probably want one that's not sugar-free, right?
I want to have low blood sugar. I want to be angry.
Okay. Jesus Christ. Welcome to the Virtual Homework Podcast, where we talk about video games. This is a video game podcast. And speaking of video games, we have an Atari update. First of all, I somehow did not know that Atari had a cryptocurrency and that the Atari cryptocurrency was at one point worth as much as the company. Obviously, it's gone down, and now it's only worth a third of the company.
That's like so sad. Like the market cap of a fucking like shit coin is worth more than the entire company of Atari.
Okay, right now it's only a third of the company of Atari, but one day when people decide, you know,
when Soulja Boy buys it,
when Soulja Boy decides to,
can we tie like the price of their stock or the coin to like Soulja Boy's announcement? Like, did it affect the stock at all? Do you think
it probably did? Honestly, because like I don't know anything about Soulja Boy.
That.
But I feel like Soulja Boy, like many other, like, have you noticed that every single rapper is like endorsing a cryptocurrency?
Well, yeah, because it's like easy as fuck money. You just like so what usually happens with that is that the crypto people approach you, say like, hey, like this is a super cool coin. We'll give you a shit ton of it. Here's the thing about it, and then the rappers are more than likely like, oh yeah, this is pretty cool. I'll shout it out, and then they shout it out, and then it goes up like 1,000%, and then they sell it and make a bunch of money.
Basically, instead of shouting out, Soulja Boy should just buy Atari and then own every single Atari token.
What if they just re-release every Atari game ever made, but it's just Soulja Boy in it, except instead of like E.T.
Soulja T.
I think that it would actually sell.
Yeah, I would buy any video game made by Atari featuring Soulja Boy. 100%. There's no
that's how they could rebrand.
There's no way I wouldn't buy a Soulja Boy based game. Pretty Boy Swag, like, the video game.
I think that's actually hilarious though. Like as an actual like marketing ploy, like these shit like companies that are like on hard times, literally just like add anything crazy to your game. And I think people would just buy it for the memes. Like add like if you had like 50 Cent or like Kanye West like a video game, like you would just buy it just for like the novelty, even if it's terrible, like and it would sell well, you know.
Well, speaking of hard times, obviously we're on hard times right now because we are replaying games. What the fuck's up with that?
Well, listen, we're not replaying. We're finishing a game. Like, how many times have we always said, oh, man, I wish we could go back and play blah, 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 blah. We actually did it for once.
Okay, to be fair, replaying is a bit of a stretch considering, like, our previous investment in this podcast was honestly negligible. Obviously, there's weeks where we don't play a lot of the game, but like we literally were like, oh, you only have to play 2 hours of the game and then you're done. And like for a game that's like this, or like any game that's like more than like 10 hours long, you're like, I've tasted the appetizer. I feel like I could actually talk about the entire game and how much I love
like
the game.
I feel like what we were talking about like didn't even like scratch the surface of this game.
Yeah, so we played Psychonauts again this week, and I'm gonna say I actually played it again. I didn't just like do my old save file and actually continue the game. I played the entire game. Wow. Okay, we got a slacker on the podcast.
Which was terrible because I had to spend an hour relearning to play this monster of a game.
Okay, well you should have done what I did and just like honestly started from the beginning because I basically just like started from the beginning. I knew a relatively large amount of the plot and I just continued on and just like kind of powered through until I got to the section where I stopped. But we played Psychonauts this week. The whole reason we're doing this, and I'm going to be honest here, is because Psychonauts 2 came out last week. There was a literal surprise reveal on the podcast. Dana's like, oh, you know, Psychonauts 2 came out. I'm like, what? I was like, okay, we have to play this game, and then we have to play the next game. So we're doing this to gear towards Psychonauts 2.
Basically, because we like imagine playing that without beating this. Like,
and imagine
terrible.
Actually playing Psychonauts versus playing 2 hours of Psychonauts. We played so little Psychonauts last time for episode 11, by the way. And honestly, I listened to episode 11, our Psychonauts episode, and Jesus Christ, we've come a long way. We haven't come so far that we're not absolutely
We're not
fucking
humble.
up every single sentence that we say, but
Like I do.
we talked about cutscenes for like 7 minutes out of the 11 minutes we talked about this game. Jesus Christ, why do we do that so much?
I don't know. I can't think of the mindset I was in when we were starting this. It was kind of in the middle of COVID, like we were scared of the world, so.
We were scared of the world, and therefore we played Psychonauts, which is a little bit of a spooky game. It's not a horror game, but like...
So we are going to start from the very beginning with this game. Psychonauts is a 3D linear collectathon platformer, which is kind of different in the sense that most collectathons are completely like free roam, open world. This is not the case at all with this game. Every single level and everything you have to collect is extremely linear. That's the game. You just jump on shit.
What he said is true, but like I feel like he's missing the fact that like this game is a platformer, but you have a lot of power-ups. You have, I can't count the amount, but roughly 8 or 9 power-ups.
8 or 9 different power-ups.
Yeah.
So this game is considered to be a lot of people like the best game of all time, everyone's favorite game and stuff like that. Like this is something that like you can look on like hundreds of lists and say like this is like a top 3 game of all time. Now, based on that, I will say one, this has some of the best humor and some of the best writing and character writing I've seen in a game for something that I enjoyed. There has to be thousands of hours of like voiced dialogue with like different things. It's not like you just jump in a character and they say like the same line over and over. Like they'll actually say like maybe 5 or 6 different lines. And 2, this game has some of the best level aesthetic and design out of any game I have ever played in my life. And I think that's what a lot of people remember about it. That being said, I think that this game is so overrated, it makes me nauseous.
Okay.
Like, I think this is one of the most overrated games of all time.
I mean, like, I don't really necessarily know what you mean by overrated. I think this game is like an 8 out of 10. I don't think this is the, like, first of all, I haven't, so like, you're humbling, or not, you're mumbling to the fact that like this game is like considered by many to be the best game of all time. I don't really
It literally
know.
is. You can like literally Google Psychonauts and it's like it's all on like top 3 lists.
I mean,
stuff
the thing
like
is,
that.
like at the time, I could definitely see that.
It's literally considered like one of the best platformers of all time, which is I wholly disagree with. I think this game is so unbelievably overrated.
Okay, I don't necessarily think it's overrated. I think it's a great game, but like I also don't think that like I would be surprised to say that it's like on the best games of all time list. Like I think it's a great game, and like I don't think that like because it is a great game, it cannot necessarily be overrated. But like I haven't seen the rumblings that you have that this game is the best game of all time. So like maybe
I mean, I guess you could literally just search Psychonauts like best platformers, and this is on every single list.
The thing is, like for the context, when this game came out, what was it, like 2007, 2006?
2006.
Yeah, I could legitimately see this being considered one of the best platformers of all time, at least 3D platformers for that aspect, because this game is not just great in terms of platforming, but it's great in terms of like the cinematics. We talked about the plot. We talked about what you said was thousands of hours of dialogue. That is 100% an exaggeration. There is a lot of dialogue.
Like literally every single character is fully voiced.
Imagine thousands of hours of dialogue. No, that's like have you ever read an ebook?
I guess you're skipping things because
I'm
like
not skipping
every
things. Have you read a multi-100-page ebook?
Yes, but like the thing is
20
like,
hours.
So for example, like let's say there's 10 characters in an area. When you finish an area and come back, they're all in a different place doing a different thing with like all new voice dialogue, 5 or 6 different things they're saying in relative to the situation, and then it's like you go to another area and there's another 10 characters doing the same thing, like all over the game. Like there's like probably like there's like 30 different kids, there's like 5 different teachers, like Raz himself probably has like a couple thousand voice lines. Like Jesus Christ, like the amount of time, maybe not thousands, a couple hundred voice lines and stuff like that. It's actually quite ambitious what they did as far as the voice acting in this
I'm
game.
not disagreeing that it's ambitious. I'm just saying that thousands of hours is a ridiculous number. That is like
okay, maybe
insane.
maybe 1,000
I'm not going to argue about the exact amount. I'm just like pointing out the fact that like that's an insane amount to say. But like yeah, this game is cinematic. This game plays very well for a 3D platformer from this time.
I 1,000% disagree. I think this has some of the worst controls out of any game I've ever played in my life. The spatial ability that you are given in this game is fucking terrible. really this game does nothing interesting or new to the genre. I mean, you just jump on things. I would say 8 out of the 9 abilities you're given, you never use. You're just going to use the levitate ball for everything. There's maybe one gimmick you're going to use for one level, and then you never ever use again. Like, honestly, how often do you use clairvoyance? You never use it. Like,
Did you like listen? You said you didn't listen to the previous episode, right? You praised this game so much that I'm just extremely surprised.
Because I played the last fucking half of the game.
So I will agree with you. So the thing about this game is that like this game, I would consider it an 8 out of 10 because like it started out okay, got extremely good.
I think the first half of the game is a fucking 8 out of 10, not even 9 out of 10.
Yeah, no, I was about to get there. Like, I feel like the first third about the game, or I'm gonna separate in thirds.
I would say first half.
First third, very good. Second third, extremely good. Last third, bad. Like, not bad, but I felt it dragged.
I think it seems like most of the game you had like this connecting hub world that kind of linked like the world to itself, and then the last like half or third of the game is all kind of like a sequence of levels. It's all contained in its own area that has nothing to do with that. It seems like they just kind of rushed the end of the game, which if you read into the development at all, makes a lot of sense.
I haven't read into the development, but I wouldn't even say it's rushed.
It's in development hell.
Okay, I mean that makes a little bit of sense, but like I think that like the issue wasn't necessarily that like the hub world was ignored. It was that each level got more and more complicated for what was really like their detriment. Like one of the reasons I like some of the earlier levels, and then I like some of the middle levels too, is because it followed a very linear path. It's like, oh, here's your end goal, jump to the other end of the jump to the destination, or like destroy shit to get to the destination, etc., etc. And then like, for example, my least favorite level was towards the end. It was this like board game Catan type level.
Yeah, and it was definitely there's a lot of those types of puzzles where it's like they don't give you any solution or any help. You just kind of have to wander around to find the corner of the map where the thing you need to do to complete is, and then wander to another corner. There's no logic or puzzle. It's just like, all right, just wander and figure out what the fuck to do.
Which I could see in an era where like this game is trying to like increase its longevity, like where longevity is important. I mean, like I feel like longevity has never really not been important, but like it seemed like decisions to make the game longer but not necessarily more fun. That's where I was, because like the last third about the game was like I was like slogging around. I'm like, all right, let's get this over with. And then like we got to the point of no return, and then there was like level after level after level after level. I'm like, I just want to see the credits. I'm like, I'm not into this anymore. I'm not into the story anymore. It kind of like exhausted me in that way. But like I still enjoyed the gameplay enough that I would consider this like an 8 out of 10. Like I could see this being part of the video game elite when it came out, but like I understand not liking it now. I feel like it hasn't aged well, but like it.
Absolutely.
Not necessarily is like an overrated game.
I think it's overrated in the sense that it has some of the most generic platforming out of any game I've ever played. It's very reminiscent of those like random 2000s platformers like Taz, the fucking whatever, that just have like super mediocre controls. Everything's super floaty. Like, my thing that I love about platformers, I love tight platforming, where you feel like you jump and you know exactly where you're going to land. Like, this is not the case on this. You don't know, because whether it's because of cameras or spatial awareness, like, you're not going to always go where you think you're going to go. And that's one of my biggest problems.
The funny thing is, I actually didn't really think about it this gameplay, but when I played the game, or sorry, I didn't think about it I didn't think about it this time I played the game, but when I listened to the previous podcast, like we kept mentioning how this game was like basically Sonic Adventure with a different skin. I actually kind of agree with that. Like people love Sonic Adventure, but like when you go back to it, like the gameplay isn't really as tight as you remember, and like I definitely feel that way. However, like I thought this game was definitely more tight. Like this game works better than Sonic Adventure. Sonic Adventure is kind of a
I just felt like there were a lot of like jumps that felt like too awkward, or it's like I can't count how many times in like, let's say that Catan level where it's like you're in that farmhouse, you're trying to get to the top, where I'm just like constantly falling down, having to get back up, make the jump, get to the top, get hit, fall down, like all the fucking time. Or even that last level, the meat circus, is one of the worst levels in any games I've ever played in my life. That level fucking sucked. Fuck that level.
I tried it.
I like, it was fucking terrible. It's an escort mission that you're timed. It was awful.
I didn't have any issues with it, but that's
It's
just me.
considered one of the hardest levels of any game of all time. That's why you're given the achievement. It's supposed to be unbeatable. They actually cut the difficulty down by about 70% from the original release because it got such terrible reviews.
Okay, I was
based on
confused.
that
I'm like,
alone.
why are you telling me this is like one of the hardest levels when I beat it first try? But you're saying like
I don't know why.
the
I
version
spent
bet.
I spent like 2.5 hours on it. So
Okay. I mean, like, the thing is, I spent, like, over an hour on it, but that's just because beating it first try required just, like, section after section after section. God damn, it was annoying. I
yeah.
will say that, like, I legitimately enjoy this game a lot. So, like, as a platformer, when you have a platformer like this, when you have a large-scale platformer, there's the story aspect and you have the gameplay aspect. And, like,
Yeah.
you have a game like Super Meat Boy, which is very, very low on the story aspect,
Yeah.
but it has extremely tight controls. I would say this is kind of like mid
The
on the
opposite.
platforming and then like extremely high on the story. Like I actually cared about
Oh
the story.
yeah. Oh yeah, absolutely. Like like I said before, I think this has some of the best aesthetics and level design and story and writing out of any game I've ever played. Like to me that's a straight 10 out of 10. Like the fucking what's that one level? Like the Mexican luchador level towards the end. Like that level is so cool looking. It's so beautiful. Like the
I actually
aesthetic
hated that
and
level.
the visuals of this game actually I think straight up hold up to this day. They look good.
You're talking about like a level that like has an okay story but like bad gameplay. Like my favorite level in this game, which like the funny thing is when I played this game, I only played it for 2 hours before, and I was like, oh, I got to the levitation level. That's like literally the end of the tutorial. I'm like, oh, I got
Yeah,
to the end
it's
of the
literally the
tutorial.
end of the tutorial, yeah.
The level where you're a giant and you're just destroying shit. The lungfish level.
That's fun because that's less mechanic based. I feel to me like that's something that's actually unique versus like the platforming and every other aspect of the game just seems generic. Like let me just kind of like play this like flat out. The fighting in this game, the fighting is just straight up terrible. Like fighting
I
like
just
the
smashed A.
exactly, but the thing at the same time you can just run past every enemy. You actually don't need to fight a single enemy in this game.
Like I don't know. I feel like yeah, going back on that level, the lungfish giant level or whatever you want to call it.
Like that's really fun. That's the one that you actually think is
the
pretty
gameplay
cool.
aspects are not necessarily what I enjoyed as much as like the progression of the story and how hilarious it got. Like for example, my favorite levels. And like this is like an obvious choice after the lungfish level, but like the milkman level where you're like in an interdimensional space, like that is considered one of the best levels in video games of all time. Like you've mentioned, like this game is actually on my top 10 list.
I would disagree. Like it's the best, but it's like I think aesthetically and the story is super fucking cool. I just think it was super annoying that you have to find like the random upgrades to. That was like what I was learning to like with the puzzles. It's like you have to like find a thing in a corner. All right, that goes to this thing in this corner. All right, find this other thing in a corner. It was just like super frustrating for me.
But okay, for a level like that, for a fetch quest level, like I feel like the environment was so intriguing that I didn't necessarily feel like I
absolutely.
was slogging from place to place. I was just like, all right, I'm doing this.
No, it was so it's less about that, and I just feel like the gameplay in general is just like the gameplay isn't that great. Like the fighting isn't that great. The platforming isn't that great. Like the gameplay is a solid 5 out of 10, but with everything else being a 10 out of 10 is what people remember it for. You know?
Yeah, I mean, like this is like maybe the predecessor to like Uncharted.
I guess for me, like I'm so gameplay based that's like I can appreciate like the 10 out of 10 level design, like how cool, like every single area in this game is different. Like you feel like you're in a different zone. It maybe has a different mechanic, different humor, different characters and stuff like that. That's stuff's fucking amazing. The gameplay itself is like extremely overrated to me.
Yeah, I mean, like this is probably one of the earliest iterations of like cinematics over gameplay, and I don't necessarily like think that was necessarily a incorrect choice. I love the world that Psychonauts was in, and like I enjoy playing this game. I'm not necessarily like as extreme as you, where I would like have a lot of negative things to say. I thought that the second half of the game, really the last third of the game,
the positive things I say like do it better than any other game I've ever played. It's just that the negatives, just like people, like I'm just basing this on the fact that people say this is like the best game of all time, and I'm just like, this game's overrated as fuck. Like, go to like any. Yeah, go to any. Well, this game only sold 100,000 copies originally. This game was considered a critical failure and only did well after the company was able to reestablish the rights and put it on digital platforming. And since then, it has sold like millions of copies.
Well, I understand why.
I mean, I guess you could play it. I just think it's super overrated. So.
Okay,
Oh, and
well-
also, and the collectathon aspect is like Donkey Kong 64 levels of fucking terrible.
Well, I feel like you just didn't have to do that. Like, I looked at your achievements versus mine. Like, you got to, like, level 60 or something. I, like, beat this game at level 30.
Yeah, well, the thing about you don't have to, and there's really no reason to collect anything in this game, because the problem is all you really get is, like, infinite ammo and, like, longer shield. There's really no reason to collect things in this game, but it's, like, a fundamental part of things you need to do to, like, progress the story at one point. The problem with
they're not super clear on that. Like, basically, one of the levels you have to be at level 30 to have like a certain power up, and they just don't tell you. So like, if you get there and you're not level 30, which what happened to me, I was just like, oh, okay, I guess I have to completely do this level over again after like grinding out some shit. But at the same time, like, I feel like the way I played this game, where like I wasn't trying to collect every little thing, actually like raise my sanity a bit. Normally I'm in the collectathon aspect, like I have to get every single thing, but like I feel like
it's straight up terrible, because the problem is like basically what you do if you have to collect is figments, and they are translucent and they frequently blend in with the world. So if you're trying to find like one or two left, it's like fucking awful. It's like literally Donkey Kong 64 levels of awful.
Yeah, but it's also not required. So
no.
The thing about this game,
I mean,
and like the whole collection aspect, is that like this game is not an introduction, but like it came before. Like Cyberpunk 2077 introduced me as a gamer, and I know that I'm probably a little late to the concept, but the point of no return concept, and I really dislike this. So
yeah, I hate that too. That being said, though, I do like that they give you that NPC in the point of no return, that you can use all your, you can get all your upgrades and everything right there.
No, but what?
Because I missed them all.
Okay, that's fair, but like at the same time, like, so the point of no return in a lot of these open world games, because this game is like open world, but it has levels, etc. Like, it's not as open world as like GTA or like Cyberpunk or something like that. But the point of no return basically is saying that like once you get to this point, you're going from here to the credits, and then like once you load the game again, it's going to be before the point of no return. Like, the fact is, if a game is open world, I don't care if the story goes to a point where going back to the world makes sense. Like, hypothetically, if like it's like, oh, you became a psychonaut, now we're going to go on the rocket ship and kill the moon. It's like, yeah, just because you're going to the moon doesn't mean you can't go back to base camp to pee. I want to be able to go back to the main hub world after beating the
and maybe
game.
maybe you want to collect some shit or something like that, you know?
It's like, oh, I beat the game, now I'm back in the hub world. I want to like see like what happens in this hub world after the implications of the plot. Like, and the fact is, like, Cyberpunk introduced me to this. I haven't played that many games with like a point of no return, but like in a game like Cyberpunk, where like you're basically just like building your character, getting your inventory, etc. Like, it was a real gut punch in that like you played this game for like 3 extra hours, and like you come back and like there's no progression because like the entire extremely plot heavy game, like that plot didn't matter, and you can't actually see what happened in the world after your inherent actions. Like, and then this game less extreme because like the plot was fun, but I wasn't like extremely invested in the characters in the way that I was the 60-hour game like Cyberpunk.
No.
Like, but at the same time, like, it frustrates me when a game gets to a point where it's like, you know what, your progress doesn't matter, you hit the credits, and like it's not like that's saved. You know what I'm saying?
No. Yeah, no, I completely get it. I'm not a fan of point of no return either. I just like the fact that I was able to at least get my upgrades upgraded, which is a main reason to go back. But at least it tells you like, hey, this is the point of no return. Like, you can stop here or do it.
I feel like every single game does that, but like this whole thing came out of the fact that like I feel like point of no return makes it so a 100% experience feels less great. It's like if you upgraded like to like level 98 or whatever you need to like beat this game 100%, and it's like you get every single item, it's like, oh, okay, you hit the credits, you might get an achievement, but it's like no one in the game.
This game actually gives you nothing for getting 100%. Like, you get like an extra cutscene. There's no reason to do or collect like everything in this game. So it just feels like a lot of
should be the way though.
I mean, but then like, why have it? Like, usually I feel like you're able to get like really meaningful upgrades that like make your gameplay better. But this game really doesn't do any of that because you don't like use any of your abilities anyways.
There's the pro in that like it rewards people who spend a ton of time in the game, but there's also the con in that like people who aren't necessarily like.
But it doesn't reward you though.
No, what I'm saying is like the pro of having a 100% reward is that like it really acknowledges the people who are extreme fans of your game. But like the thing is like obviously if you have people who want 100% your game, like having like an acknowledgement that like 100% like you did it, it's like that's great for them. But for the vast majority of people who are unable to like complete the game just due to time constraints, or like yes, your game was fun, but the grind to get to 100% is just not fun for most people. Like I feel like to have items at 100%, it just like makes the normal player feel bad. Like I'm of that point.
Yeah, no, I agree. Like I said, I think that the gameplay is like a solid 5 out of 10, but like the aesthetics and everything else is like 10 out of 10. So it's like, I guess it's like a 7 out of 10 game for me. I just think this game is overrated as fuck, and it's on the top of many people's lists, and I don't understand why.
So the funny thing is, like, we both praised this game a ton when we first played it. First of all, my main complaint was that there was too many cutscenes, and like the whole point of this game is story, and like, yeah.
Oh yeah,
I
but
guess I skipped
we
a bunch
both said,
now, but
the first half of this game is amazing.
yeah. So like, I feel like I played this game in a completely different experience than my first playthrough on podcast 11. Like I genuinely feel like I had a completely different experience, and I forgot most of the things that I played during that experience. I don't necessarily think that I disliked the game last time, but like I feel like I enjoyed the game way more this time actually getting a full picture.
I actually disliked it a lot more.
You disliked it a lot more, so I guess like really
I think just the last part of this game, like the end game of this game is trash. Like it's just fucking garbage.
Yeah, I definitely thought the second half was weaker than the first, but at the same time, like I think that it's kind of funny that like we both had a completely different experiences playing
like that
the game.
glorious theater level, I think actually sucks. Like I think that level just straight up sucks.
I think I got lucky. 8 out of 10.
6 to 7 out of 10 maybe.
7 out of 10. You're gonna say 7 out of 10 because it's not like 6 out of 10. What the fuck are you talking about? Like fucking.
Yeah, it's 7 out of 10.
Yeah,
like
7
like
out of 10.
the story and aesthetics carry it. I'll say 7. Yeah.
Okay. What else is new?
Your face.
You were shitting all over me last week about like that video that I didn't watch regarding Carl Jobs, and I did. You know what? I was like, you know what? I'm gonna be nice because I forced you to watch the Wall-E movie, which is like an hour and a half. So you trying to force me to watch a 52-minute video is really not that bad. So I watched the video, and you know what? I feel vindicated. Not by anyone else, by the way, because we actually had, so normally our highlights that aren't shorts don't get that many views, but occasionally when it's a relevant topic, we get some views. We had one comment because someone actually watched our video and they said, wow, the person you're talking to is an idiot. They should have watched the Carl Jobs video. So you were vindicated there.
Oh.
Yeah. But first of all, fuck you. I'm not an idiot because I was actually arguing 100% what I know to be true. However, like, yeah, it was a different argument than the Carl Jobs video was saying. So I was like arguing a parallel point while like Dana was apparently taking me out. First of all, can I just say, as I was watching this video, I was like remembering our conversation, like, oh, this piece of shit. He's just literally rehashing the video. You told me the entire video in debate form.
Yeah, because I had to explain what the fucking video was, because that was the topic at hand. Our topic was literally the video and everything going with WADA, so I had to explain what happened. It was,
to be fair, I started with WADA. I will say that much, but I like immediately went on a different tangent, and I feel like I didn't articulate what the tangent I was trying to say was. And yes, this was addressed in the WADA Games video by Carl Jobs. However, I feel like it was not addressed fairly. So the video specifically was on WADA Games and their conspiracy and how they've existed. It was a pretty good video, I'll admit that. I generally don't dislike Carl Jobs videos, but I always feel like there is a little bit of lacking information because I'm closer to these subjects than some of the people actually watching. I don't think that like what you were saying last week was bad. Like, yes, WADA Games, they've existed since the coin age in like different forms, and then like they've pretty much ruined every single collectible market up until now their new target video games. However, while I 100% agree with everything you were saying about the new game market and the graded market, I feel like this has less of an impact on the ungraded and pretty much like loose market. And I will say,
well, that's what I was saying though. I said this is only, you were saying that like that loose the playability of game is what is affecting the prices, and that was the argument we were having.
Okay, so yeah, the thing is, I was trying to make a point, but like I did not frame it in a great way, and that there's two separate groups of people. You were talking a lot about the investment class getting into video game purchasing and video game collecting and them ruining the market. And like there is a completely different investment class versus the graded market. and the market of people who are actually video game collecting. And the people who are video game collecting 100% care how a game works, and therefore don't really care about like a graded game or a game that you actually cannot put into a console. Like, and when I actually buy a game, if I'm not able to play it, I literally return it.
Oh, absolutely. So, like, I guess more so my argument was based on the layman, the people that aren't in either class, the people that see it as an investment, who maybe aren't as knowledgeable, that start jumping on ungraded and just loose copies of games. Hence, why you start seeing listings for like Mario 64 immediately after that went for $1 million. Just loose copies up on eBay for like $500 next to $20 copies, and they end up selling, like things like that.
So I'm going to completely disagree in that, like, the layman is not a neutral class. The layman is the investor class, because like if you are all a video game collector, you are not a layman. Like, the layman is the person who joins the speculative market.
Correct. Like, people that don't have any interest or knowledge on it trying to invest. There's people who do research and invest based on research. And then there's the people that just see an article and go, "Ooh, that's cool. I buy it." And it's the same problem we had in cards over the past 2 years, but cards have completely crashed down to price because all those people are no longer in the hobby.
Yeah, so I'm going to keep this short because we had a half-an-hour conversation, which I thought was actually a pretty good debate. I'm proud of myself.
I liked it a lot. It was
for
fun.
Keeping my own, okay? I'm going to jack myself off here, but I'm just gonna say, fuck, what was I gonna
say? Sam, I'm proud of you. That's all I'm gonna say.
I'm gonna jack myself off here. Fuck, I forgot everything I was gonna say. I'm just gonna say that I think we're both right in that, like, I really don't think that this affects the video game collectors market. I feel like people in the video game community care a lot more about playability than a lot of the things that investors generally care about, like box art. Like, to the point where I think that, like, even though he tried to make this claim, Carl Jobs, right at the end of the video, about 2 minutes before the video ended, like, I literally, like, documented when it happened. It was 2 minutes before. He's like, and this isn't just a problem for investors. The actual price of video games has gone up 33% in the last 2 years. And I'm like, You know what? I mean, like, that is necessarily true, but the fact that you put this in at the end not only makes me think that you didn't really do enough research on this, or you think you have a shoddy argument, and B, I feel like by putting it there, it kind of like misplaces the blame. First of all, like, the video game market has been rapidly increasing in price from a collector standpoint, just due to the fact that, like, with a limited supply item, like, games that are relatively popular will become rapidly increasing in price. Like, the video mentioned like the Spider-Man for Atari 2600.
Yeah, that was a really good example.
Yeah, the thing is, Atari 2600 games, even though they don't make Atari 2600 games anymore, there were so many made, and there just isn't necessarily that much demand because these games suck objectively, that, like, even because of that, the market is still flooded. Like, you have a game, though, like Super Mario World for the SNES. Eventually, you're going to run out of copies, even though the game was plenty copies made, just due to the fact that, like, a lot of people love that game. They're actually actively trying to find it. So, like,
you want something that's actually funny, though? Like, this actually goes back to the game we played. There's only 100,000 sales of Psychonauts, so I mean,
yeah, but this game is, like, old. Like, Nintendo is a weird example in that, like, pretty much every single game is a physical copy up until, like, very recently. Like, up until, like, after the Wii. Like, PlayStation 1 games, like, people generally care more, or they don't care enough about physical copies. Really, any disc-based console before, like,
I mean, to be honest, I think I care about a lot of disc stuff, but, like, it's so hard to find disc-based games because most people threw away the cases and put them in, like, those little flip books. You remember those flip books that we used to put CDs in?
Yeah,
so most people did. Most people used to do that with PlayStation games, so it's, like, really hard to find, like, cases. It's the same reason why Saturn games are, like, you can never find a fucking case. They're always shattered.
Actually, I'm not sure I agree with that because Saturn cases were, like, legitimately heavy-duty cases. Just,
excuse me, not Saturn. I'm thinking Sega CD.
Yeah, Sega CD is, and any add-on for the Genesis is, like, an insane thing. Like, any add-on for any console is, like, impossible. Like, the Jaguar CD, impossible to find any game for it. Yeah. But yeah, that and the fact that, like, I own a copy of Sonic Adventure. It has scratched the shit and will never play again. Like,
I don't think either of us disagree on either. I think we both agree with each other's opinions on the subject. I was just more so pointing out, like, how fucking shitty WATA and Heritage auctions are. I think they're fucking scum of the earth. Fuck both of them.
Yeah, I want like this is someone single-handedly trying to ruin an entire hobby. But
Yeah.
I just want to say one thing. He insinuated because of the investment class, the retro gaming community in general was paying higher prices for games. I completely disagree for that. One, it is a relatively alarming trend due to the fact that like retro game collectors are paying more and more each year, but that's one, due to scarcity, and two, to the like larger increase in demand for the hobby. But two, I also think that COVID played a large part in this, in that like people are getting into a hobby again, not necessarily from a collecting standpoint, but just because they have nostalgia for it.
Well,
Like,
but
it
are
actually
they getting into it because of the investment class jumping into it? So they want to jump into the hobby, and more people that were previously not in the hobby are getting into it because of that. Because this is a parallel of what exactly happened to cards right before COVID. Everything shot up like 400%. You know, I was selling base set Charizards for $1,800, but now I can sell that same card for $250. You know, as everybody got out of the hobby after the quote unquote hype from all these articles and shit happen. So that's just like, I guess that's where I'm coming from, because I've personally experienced it in a very similar hobby that has problems with grading, speculation, investments, and so on and so forth. So that's just my background on it.
But you can't argue that there was a massive increase in people interested in Pokemon and actual physical media because of the pandemic and because they weren't able to actually like see people.
No. It was more so because, well, I would say argue, yeah, because every other card game did not do well. But the difference with Pokemon is that you don't need other people to collect Pokemon cards. Like, that's not something you sit in front of them and play a game. Like, you can just collect your cards and do whatever. That, and mostly Pokemon went up because of, like, you know, shitheads like Logan Paul, you know, Steve Aoki, and all the other super popular people got into the hobby.
Well, I would argue that like video games, especially single player games, especially for the SNES, definitely had an increase just due to the pandemic, people staying at home. Like I
could say it's both.
Yeah, there is, I'm not going to say that like investment in video games like didn't upshoot the price a little bit, but I think that the Carl Jobs video like tried to make the conclusion that like this was the cause of the upshoot in like video game pricing, like to the extreme that it has.
If that's the case, if that's the case that they made the point to say it was the sole reason, I would completely disagree. I would say it's definitely a contributing reason, maybe not even a majority reason, but I definitely think it is a reason the prices went up. So
yeah. I, as a video game retro collector, like honestly, like I have hundreds of games in my collection, so like I feel like I have
sold
enough
a couple
authority.
Of my games.
Yeah, get fucked, stupid idiot. Oh,
dude, I sold my Fire and Ice. I paid $10 for. I sold it for $200.
Get fucked, idiot! You're gonna sell that for $40,000 in the future because of what games? Oh,
I'm about to rub my nipples on camera.
Okay, well, anyway. As a video game collector, as someone who actually has authority in the subject, I feel like it is not a super big concern for those trying to make large collections. It is a super big concern, though, if you are interested in complete in box or newer games, which you shouldn't be if you're trying to amass a collection. That is literally just making your life miserable. You should look for working games. However, I will say that in the very rare case of a extremely rare video game. So we're talking about like Star Fox Weekend, Max, Donkey Kong competition cards. Those video games,
like those are like they're like what 20, 30 copies of that shit made.
Yeah,
those are some of the most expensive games made.
Those will shoot up in price just due to the fact that like even though they're not in box, they have the ability to be graded on like an actual scale that people care about. Like the example that they used before was Spider-Man for the Atari. That being graded loose wouldn't matter at all at this point. Like, you grade your copy of Star Fox regular loose, it's like, okay, a 9.6, no one gives a shit because it doesn't have the box.
But if you have that Star Fox in the box with like the was it the tournament edition, weekend, whatever, that's Star Fox big fucking
Super
money.
Weekend. Yeah, so like if you don't have the extremely rare versions of the game that were already expensive, then you're screwed. However, if you're like me and you do,
I hate to keep bringing it back to Pokemon. That's basically what happened with our hobby, is that grading got so insane because people were sending in like 50 copies of like $2 cards, so they just got overran and the market just got completely fucked because everybody was just submitting things that were worthless.
I have a green energy card, graded 9.8.
I got my dick in my hand. Fuck you.
You should do a dick grading service. Just mold plastic over people's penises.
It's called a grinder. What's this thing you sent about a message on eBay? This actually looks kind of tangential to what we were just talking about.
Oh, okay. I completely forgot about that. Yeah. So I will say though that the like, yeah, Wada Games is evil, but it's gotten to a point where the mentality is if you have games, you should be becoming rich off them. Like Wada Games has this like evil seed that's like implanting themselves in collectors. So there was someone in the video game collecting community that like put a price of a complete in box game on eBay. I think they listed it at like $250 when it normally sells for $270. And a fellow seller was like, "Hey, I just noticed you listed this for $250. I personally think that you listed this for too low. I would appreciate it if you listed this for $270 instead of $250 because it's not worth the current price that you're making it." And I can find the actual person who sent this.
He actually won't say what game it is.
Oh, he won't
Like,
say. Yeah, it actually makes sense because they don't want
it's such a limited game. It's gonna link them to too many people.
Yeah, so the issue is the game has less than 5,000 copies, and like fellow sellers are trying to get rich. So first of all, this is illegal. I feel like that's what people are saying in the comments,
Absolutely.
and therefore I'm a lawyer now because I read some comments. This is illegal, and if I was a
I read Reddit
lawman,
for 2 hours a day. I'm basically a lawyer.
Yeah, exactly. So this is wrong 100%, but like more importantly, this is ruining the video game hobby. Like people are literally, they're no longer trying to just like buy and sell and trade copies of games. And like obviously if you're in a situation where you have a rare game, it deserves
every
money.
hobby has become commercialized like this. This is basically every hobby. Like people enjoy it, but like you wouldn't be able to enjoy it unless there are people like this making money off of it to, have things.
True. I mean, like every single hobby, like of course, like things have value, and if something is rare, you like are able to make a game priced at a certain point. But like, I don't think that this is something that really has happened in the previous world of game. Like maybe at a smaller scale, but I feel like the mentality now is like we are no longer selling games just because like. There was a game collecting business, but like we are no longer selling games to just like make a living. We are selling games to get rich, baby. We need to get this price up.
It happens in every single hobby, though. Like, I guess it's just because from any collectible, like it happened in coins, it happened in cards, it's happening to video games. I mean, you could go down the list of things that people collect, and eventually people are going to jump into it. It got really bad with old school video games because I remember you remember when we used to just go to like different Craigslist, different stores, like trying to get collections just to collect old school video games. And then we saw like all these people jumping into the hobby to make money who knew nothing about it and just saw it as a money opportunity. So it's not like this is like a new thing. This is something that's been happening for a while and will happen to any hobby that is like valuable.
True. I'm just hoping that anyone who's actually interested in the hobby like gets into it now and like tries There will be a crash, but I feel like even after the crash, it's going to be a relatively elevated price. And I feel like anyone that wants to be in the hobby should get in sooner rather than later. That's my opinion.
That's what sucks about collectibles that have a finite supply. It's like 10 years from now, like people can't, like you're kind of just doing the hobby with people who have it and have been doing it. And it's like, you're kind of just playing with yourself because no one else can afford to get into the hobby. It really sucks.
Yeah.
Because I think collecting old school video games is super fun. Like these cartridges, these games, like they look fucking dope and they're super fun to play like in a physical way, and it's just something that future generations may not be able to enjoy.
Well, I'm gonna like sit on my ivory tower of video games and like be a baller. Okay. What else we got?
Oh, did you see that thing with Roblox? I think this is hilarious.
I'm not sure I did. Can you explain this to me?
Okay, so what's happening is Roblox, they have a problem with what they do is people have like house parties, like a bunch of teenagers, they have like Roblox house parties, and people are like reenacting like mass shootings inside of them.
Oh no.
Like there's like videos on Twitter of it. It's like people are like, "Oh, Shody, come over here," with like a bunch of other people like, "Oh, yo, I got drink in my cup." Then out of no one, like someone's like, "Bah, bah, 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 bah," and everyone's like, "Oh shit, hey yo," and they all
like,
start running.
Is this an outside like entity? Like they just come into a server and then just they start mass shooting, or like is this like planned from? Because
it's like so because it started as a meme on TikTok, now it's like actually like a huge problem.
No, so you're saying like someone's griefing and they're killing everyone in a Roblox server, but like it'd be that's bad, but like it'd be way worse if it's like, yo, today we're gonna like make a Virginia Tech themed level. Like that's That's what I thought you meant. Stop killing people in Roblox.
Like Roblox is one of those games I wish I was like 15 years younger, because it just looks like fucking amazing. It's literally just infinite game modes, infinite games, and stuff like that. I just can't get over how terrible your character looks.
I'm already addicted to video games and addicted to the internet. Like, I'm scared for like the people younger like their entire reality is on Roblox.
Yeah. Have you ever played something like Minecraft though? Like, you ever get like really into it?
Terraria, not Minecraft.
Oh yeah, that's right. You played Terraria.
Yeah.
Minecraft.
I'm cool. Okay.
Minecraft I don't play
sucks.
Minecraft. I'm too cool for that. I play Terraria.
Yeah, Terraria's better. No big deal.
I think they're all fun. Do you ever just come home from work and you're just like, fuck, I want to play this game so bad? Like, you actually really want to play a game, but you're just too tired to fucking, like, do it.
Well, okay, yeah, that happens a lot of the time, but, like, it's very rare that, like, I'm thinking about playing a video game, like, while I'm, like, working or anything like that. Like, I've been addicted to video games
I do
before.
that a lot.
Like, even on this podcast, some of the better games have been like, oh, I want to play that game more. But, like, it's rare.
There's like a lot of like for Final Fantasy 14. Like, I come home a lot and I'm just like, fuck, I'm so ready to play this, and I sit down, I'm just like draining to like get engrossed in something like that because it's so in depth that I'm just like, fuck, I don't have the energy for this. So then I just end up surfing because I can just like listen to a podcast and just be like.
Final Fantasy 14 isn't on mobile?
So in other news, China has banned people from under 18 from playing video games, which I think could actually ruin certain like markets for games.
So first of all, like there was already a large scale ban on under 18 gaming like in the country before this ban. Like they just made it so you could only play 3 hours a week, which is a very low amount of video games if you are under 18.
Well, what's so funny is like all these games, like every little game company has like bent over backwards to what's the word I'm looking for, to go towards the Chinese market.
They want the Chinese market. I mean, the thing is like there are a ton of people over the age of 18. Like as soon as you're 18, you could go hog wild, and like people do go hog wild.
Exactly. But like I just think it's so funny. Like companies like Blizzard and all, EA, all these other things have bent over backwards for the Chinese markets, and this is like what they're gonna get out of it. So I think it's just hilarious.
Yeah, it's just like if you're investing in any company that like is based in China, just like understand you could get fucked at any time. Like there's that one like actress that just got completely wiped off the face of the earth just due to the fact that she decided to interact with some Taiwanese filmmakers, and therefore
is that really what happened? She just talked to Taiwan people and like
no,
did a
like
movie with them and.
It's one thing to talk to people from Taiwan. It's another thing to like actually make business relations with like Taiwanese people who are like not necessarily pro Chinese operatives, and therefore like the thing is she's alive. She's very alive. She just lives in Europe now. Like people are like, oh, she was wiped off the face of the earth. Like she was wiped off China's like pretty much like social media presence. Like you're not gonna find her profiles in any like Chinese Facebook or like Chinese like news websites. Like she basically doesn't exist to China.
However, so she like it's not like when we hear people get taken away to like
she wasn't
gulagged.
Okay,
get gulagged, bitch.
Yeah, I wish.
What?
I don't wish.
I wish upon a star.
Gulag.
Dude, Mao is just staring into my fucking soul.
Yeah, he's upset because you're talking about Taiwan. You said the T word.
I'm sorry. He looks like angrier than usual. Speaking of angry, I'd be pretty fucking angry if I was one of these horror developers. You see what's going on with the Steam's 2-hour refund window?
Okay, first of all, this is like not necessarily new news, but I feel like this is a relatively recent occurrence in that a horror developer
it's starting to affect companies though, and they're actually speaking out about it. Like, we've heard it happen, but
what I'm trying to say is like. Steam has a 2-hour refund window, and generally this is fine because games that are really short are of lower quality. There are games like Gorogoa, which you could probably refund. I don't know anyone who would refund that game unless you're a scumbag.
A lot of people did.
Yeah, but a lot of people did. But there aren't that many large-scale developers that have been affected by the 2-hour refund window, because the 2-hour refund window is like, hypothetically, if you bought Cyberpunk and the game literally doesn't work, you should be able to refund your $60 purchase.
Yeah, it mostly affects like smaller like horror developers who make like these very like deep like indie games that are super well made, super ambient and like really well received, but because it's like an hour and 40 minutes and then people immediately refund it afterwards after saying like, oh, I had a wonderful time, and then I still refunded it.
Yeah, so like I play games outside of this podcast. One of the games I played recently was what was it called? It was called Mother. And okay, this game was 2 hours and I beat the game and I took 2.2 hours. Hypothetically, if I like somehow beat this game like 15 minutes faster, I could have gotten a refund, and like that was a full experience. Like I enjoyed that game. Like it had like legitimate like gameplay. I was invested in the story of the game. It's a story. It's like you watch a movie that's 2 hours long. Even if it's shitty, you're not looking for a refund for your ticket for the most part. Like hypothetically, if you watch like Grown Ups 2 with Adam Sandler, like you might be like, I think I need a refund on this.
I need my money back on that one.
But
what I think that they should do is allow like certain game developers to like maybe mark or tag their game as maybe shorter but like higher quality. Maybe Valve can do a better way of like vetting games to make sure it's like, hey, like maybe people shouldn't be able to refund this $5 game.
Yeah, I think speaking of $5, the price of the game is probably what it should be based on. Like if you're like hypothetically you're buying a $60 experience, like you should have more than 2 hours of gameplay.
But if your game is 99 cents, like there's no way you should be able to refund that in like an hour and after playing it for an hour and 50
Yeah, because that just incentivizes like no story-based games, just like arcade-style games where you're able to like just rack up the hours. So like it should probably be price-based. Hypothetically, if your game's $60, maybe 2 hours, $10, 30 minutes. I don't know.
But to go back to this article, basically it's saying the small indie developer who makes horror games, they're basically saying, I'm not making games ever again. I will continue to support the games I have released. All of these games have rave reviews, thousands of plays. I'm getting refunds on 75% of these, and it just isn't viable for me to keep doing this because people are enjoying my game than refunding it because Steam allows them to do so. So it really sucks. Can I show you some cool stuff I got?
Okay. We're going to do this every single week now.
Dude, I got actually cool stuff this time. So first off, I'm gonna start out.
I'm gonna interrupt you, okay? Want to know what I got this week?
What did you got something?
Yeah, I'm not gonna show it because like I don't have a sad life, but I have to show my $5 Amazon purchases. But I bought a device that
this is more than $5.
Okay, but we're just doing Amazon hauls for the week because that's apparently what
this
we do now. This
isn't Amazon. None of this is from Amazon.
I got a device that restrings like the drawstring of a sweatpants or a sweatshirt.
Ooh, how? Yeah, because like I literally have 3 pairs of pants that I'm just like trying to get it.
Yeah, because it's hard to explain, but it's like a threader, and it's like it's a device that doesn't bend, so you just it feeds it through. Anyway, it's like $5 on Amazon. I'm super excited about it. I haven't been this excited about a purchase in a very long time.
That's like seems so unbelievably useful and something you don't think about. You just like are in pain when you're.
That's the thing. It happens so often because I have a shitty dryer, and I feel like sometimes your dryer messes up. That I'm like, you know what? I'm gonna fix this issue. Anyway, try to show up my $5 purchase. Okay, you're just fat. How does that work?
Well, it's like it makes my like drawstrings go like. Brr.
No, I want to. That was not what I meant by the question. How does that work? How does being fat work? Name the reasons why you are fat.
Because I eat McDonald's and Raising Cane's and chicken fingers and pizza and ramen and pho for every meal.
Pho?
I had pho today. It was really good.
Pho?
Pho. I don't know how to fuck to say it. I'm white.
Says the person with the Chairman Mao figure right behind them. Anyway, what I wanted to say, and I was not trying to like hardcore fat shame you. I wanted to really just understand the biological implications of being fat. Like, I don't understand how a human being becomes fat. I never went to high school. I was homeschooled until 7th grade until I dropped out. I just wanted to know that. What I really want to know, though, I completely forgot what I was going to say. Start off with your haul, and maybe I'll finally remember it.
Okay. So this is what I got. This is the first thing. I got sour gummy French fries.
You bought those online?
No, I got them at a store at the mall.
Oh, okay, yeah. You were telling me it wasn't Amazon. I kept saying Amazon haul, and you're like, that's not true. Stop putting words in my mouth.
So we're going to try these. These look fucking awful.
Why do you do this? Why do you
Because I love
torture
sour
people
candy.
who listen with like, hey, I bought this food product. I'm going to literally like deep throat my mic as I put this item in my mouth.
These are terrible. Well, not terrible. They're just like,
No, they're probably just exactly like sour punch straws, but triple the price.
No, they're not like sour French fries. They're not even sour. Let me tell you something. You know what I hate? I hate sour candy. It says sour and it's not sour, like at all. Like there's like 0 sour. Is it because my like taste buds have been burnt off, or is it like actually not sour?
I think
The smallest amount of sour, just like it's too tart. like.
Well, I also think that, like, honestly, like, sour is, like, an enjoyable flavor for little amount. It's similar to spicy, but, like, even more extreme that, like, there is a community of spicy eaters that, like, I'm going to eat 7 billion Scoville today. I'm going to shit on the toilet for 4 years after
But like, there's
eating
like
this gummy
sour
bear.
candy that is like objectively 0% sour. Like this is 0% sour.
There's also things that are considered spicy by white people that is like literally like lo mein noodles with like soy sauce. So like there's like different levels of spice as well. But what I'm trying to say is like there's a level of spice that like the whole reason I love spicy food, my name is literally Picante on many channels because I like spicy food, is that I feel like spicy food is able to elevate certain flavors that you normally wouldn't get with certain foods. However, like people take it to the extreme. It's like, oh, that only makes your nostrils flare. That's not spicy. I have a literal. This was actually someone that was like at my internship when I was in college. They're like, every single item I put this literal dropper of spicy. If I put like 4 drops, I have to go to the ER. I have to only put 1 drop of this.
Well,
like,
what's the point? It's like
Yeah.
I've said this a million times. Like licking a star. Like there's literally like no point. Your tongue just disintegrates and like you're just like, like, do you need to do that for every meal?
Yeah, pretty much that's what they did. So I guess they did have to do it for every meal. But I'm going into like spicy food, like not spicy food. I'm going into sour food. Sour is probably more extreme. Honestly, like I like a sour taste, but I like it like in conjunction with other things. Like honestly, even Warheads, I was just like, this is not enjoyable. I would do it.
Oh,
'cause
I
it's,
don't like Warheads either. But it's like I still think Altoid sours are the best sour candy ever made.
Yeah, okay. We went on like a literal like 4 podcast rant about like Altoid sours that ended up in you buying knockoffs and being disappointed. So like I understand you're into Altoid sours. I feel like it shouldn't be that sour. It should have a sour element, but it should be more of a like I feel like I don't necessarily enjoy sour candy as much as I enjoy tangy candy. You know what I'm saying?
I don't think there's sour enough candy out there because there's like a difference between like not sour enough and too sour, and there's nothing that's like in between. It's either not sour enough.
Do you remember Starburst sour?
Hey, those are good. Those are actually damn good.
Yeah, but they don't exist anymore, do they?
No, or like sour mambas or sour high chews. Sour high chews are baller.
There was like a period of time where like Starburst and Skittles both went insane and had like 95 flavors each, and then
They still do. They just like consolidated, I think.
So it's not 95 each. Now it's like Starburst, Starburst Reds, and then like Starburst Tropical. And
No,
every
they have
single flavor,
Starburst minis.
Those are like I just feel like those would be gross. It's just like all unwrapped Starburst.
They-
It's like a sticky ball.
Yeah, they taste like plastic.
I would
But I
eat.
eat them. You know what's better than Starburst is fucking Jolly Rancher fruit chews.
Okay, I mean like I feel like we just go on a food rant. I'm calling it here. Okay.
Okay, no
We're
more
done.
food. I'm showing you
no
other
more
cool stuff.
food. You have more items. Jesus
Oh,
Christ.
dude.
I thought you
bought
were
this
literally
today.
just announcing.
I bought an anime statue.
Okay.
Glitters and glamour.
It's not as
Kazuki-
risque as I would expect you to get.
Kazuki Hayori.
Is that from One Piece?
Yeah, of course. She's
I'm saying
super
for the
pretty.
fans.
She's going in the cum jar immediately after podcast.
Fuck. I don't like that. Can you unsay those words to me?
It's a big jar.
Oh no, I don't want to know more about your cum jar. Can we just leave it at jar?
All right. And then
Going in my jar, my collectible jar.
this is something I'm super excited for. I got this from work. This was a gift from the owner. Oh, I got a Pokemon Eevee poster. But more than that, I got this dope piece of shit. It's a giant Pokemon card.
That's pretty cool.
That's like
Is that
holographic
graded?
Changes.
Now I'm seeing the holographicness, but is that graded? Is that a PSA 9.8? Okay, well, okay. I'm gonna get into this. You know what? Grad school is insane. So it's history. So basically, all of history is
Yeah.
reading and writing. Guess how much I have to read for my one class, and how much I have to write for my one class
Well,
every week,
100 pages.
and how much I have to write
25.
a week.
Yeah.
Are you fucking insane? That's
Well, I don't know. You said like, it was insane.
So I have to read 150 pages a week, but I have to write 3 pages a week. But I do have a 25-page paper due at the end of the semester.
That's fucked.
Yeah, I have
Grad
to
school's hardcore.
Yeah, grad school. It's one class.
What are you reading? What's the history? Is it the history of Gucci Mane?
I could make my thesis that legitimately.
What history is it? Like Chinese history or?
So the thing about history is that generally for a master's, you don't get a specific history delegation. Like you specifically get like a history master's, and then like you have a specialty. So it's like, oh,
So you're like the
I have
history
a history
master.
It's a master's degree in history, so I'm a master. Okay.
I looked up hysterectomy, but like I spelled it with history, and it didn't. It gave me womb.
History masters, generally it's a master's in history, but you have like a specialization, and then a doctorate is where you go into something specific. So like you could have a history master's and it's like, my thesis was on German history and why pretzels are dope.
Pretzels are dope.
Yeah, made in Germany. German invented the pretzels, and they invented Hitler. So like balance it out. Which one do you like better?
It's like yin and yang.
Yeah. Which one do you like better? That was not the right question. Which was which was an absolute like higher force, like the invention of the pretzel or like the invention of Adolf Hitler? Like which one had more effect on society?
Like, how am I ever expected to answer that question? Like, I mean, pretzels are like literally encapsulate every day of our life, and Hitler like killed like millions of Jewish people.
I feel like the knee jerk reaction is to say, of course, Hitler had a greater effect on humanity right now than pretzels. But is that true? Have you done the research?
Let's ask our fans and see what they say, and we'll come back next episode.
Okay. There we go. That's the cliffhanger. Jesus Christ. But no, like legitimately, that could be a subject. Like that could be your history thesis. Did Hitler do more damage than pretzels did good?
Ooh, probably. Hitler's the opposite of a pretzel, man. Fuck Hitler.
Eat pretzels.